exciting night for Rhode Island, and it is really exciting now to hear from our fabulous congressional delegation. I don't need to tell this room how important it is to have a unified and united congressional delegation, and that's what we need to make sure that we maintain 13 days from now. It is a sometimes overused and well-worn phrase about punching above our weight, but let me tell you, that is so true with our congressional delegation. From fighting for our troops to fighting for the environment, fighting to protect our democracy, fighting to protect us from the risks of cyber attacks, we have national leaders leading the conversations around this country who are right here from Rhode Island, and we should be so proud of that. We're lucky to have Senator Reid, Senator Whitehouse, Congressman Langevin, and Congressman Cicilline representing us in the United States Congress, the United States Senate. Let's give them a round of applause. To Congressman Jim Langevin for his 22 years of service in our state, in Congress, service in the State House before that. We're all here because we're excited to do the handoff to Seth Magaziner, who's got big shoes to fill, but we thank Congressman Langevin for his many, many years of distinguished service. So Governor McKee talks in a few minutes. He's going to talk about how, for many years, for decades, in fact, Rhode Island was always first in and last out of the recession. Well, coming out of the pandemic, we're writing a new story. And the reason we're writing a new story is because of the resources that our federal delegation delivered to Rhode Island. As the state's director of administration for the early days of the pandemic, I saw what happened. By the way, I was on the phone with state officials across the country, and they knew that Rhode Island was doing really well and what kind of federal aid we were receiving. And now in the Biden administration, we continue to do well because of the representation that we receive from our congressional delegation. It is my honor to introduce the leader of that team, Senator Jack Reed.
Dr. Joe Biden. And her husband's okay too. I had the privilege of serving with President Biden in the United States Senate. He was leader there. He's done an extraordinary job. And all the way, Jill has been encouraging him, supporting him, and making things happen. So just a few of the things we did under President Biden's leadership. We've gone ahead and reduced the price of pharmaceuticals to Medicare by negotiating with the companies. Long overdue. We broke the pharma lobby to do that. Second, for the generation that's coming, that young man over there, we took on climate change for the first time. Yes. We have incentives. And as Brett Smiley pointed out, we provided real resources to the state, and fortunately, we have in Governor McKee's someone who spent them wisely and well, and is going to keep doing that in his next term as Governor of Rhode Island. Here's the important message. If the Republicans take over in January, the House and the Senate for both, they're going to take that away. All these ads that are flooding into Rhode Island, who's paying? Oil companies, pharmaceutical companies, very wealthy individuals. What they want is not a clean environment for a new generation or lower prices for drugs for seniors. That's what we want. So let's get together and in several days go out there, start voting right now, and vote for these solid Democrats. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you all for coming out for our First Lady. We have a lot of races we need to win, but none are more important to me than our congressional race. Because the work that Jack and I do in the Republican-controlled House. No matter how good the bills we pass, no matter how hard the work we do, it will go over to Speaker McCarthy and die. And we cannot let Rhode Island be the place to tip the balance to Speaker McCarthy. If you care about Social Security and Medicare, you will be hurt if Seth Magaziner is not in Congress. If you care about our South County coast and all the way up to Warwick Neck, you will be hurt because you know those Republicans will do nothing about climate change in the pocket of the fossil fuel industry. So things that matter, things that will hurt Rhode Islanders are at stake. So let's be sure we get out there and win CD2. And you know, for Seth's sake, while we're at it, let's win it big.
Welcome. I am just so thrilled to be here tonight to be able to welcome our First Lady to the Ocean State. We just came from my alma mater, Rhode Island College. We'll showcase everything that's happening, especially in education. And we are so proud that our First Lady could be here today. Of course, we appreciate the leadership of our husband, President Joe Biden. So let's hear it for President. So, my friends, I want to say thank you to Dr. Biden for joining us just 13 days before Election Day to support Governor McKee's, Treasurer Magaziner, and the phenomenal slate of Democratic candidates that we have up and down the slate. They are an outstanding group. Now, not on the ballot, but I do want to salute my colleagues in the delegation, our Senior Senator Jack Reed, Senator Whitehouse. I want to acknowledge my brother in the House of Representatives, the First District, my older brother, David Cicilline, our Congressman, Don Ballard, Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos, our next Secretary of State, Greg Abore, the General Treasurer, next General Treasurer, Jane Riosa, and of course our great Attorney General, Peter Nerone. My friends, we know how much is at stake in this election. And we have to show up in force to make sure that we put Democratic candidates over the top. Like Dr. Biden's husband has said time and again, you know, we are not running against the Republican Party of our parent generation. No. The Republicans that are running for office today are a bunch of election deniers and are a worshiping bunch of MAGA extremists who are promising to roll back the program and progress that we have made over the years and worked so hard to deliver for the people of Rhode Island and for working families across this country. We simply cannot afford to let them win. And it starts by re-electing Governor Dan McKee and also Seth Magaziner to the 2nd Congressional District. And my friends, we should start by acknowledging the great job that Governor McKee has done since he took office amidst the global pandemic. Talk about baptism by fire. Well, let me say this. Dan McKee wasted no time in getting right to work, and he has since made sure that we led our state back to one of the strongest economic recoveries in the nation. He has also expanded access to affordable housing, and he's made our communities safer from gun violence. Let me just say this. I think you would agree, no matter what you say, in the words of a great philosopher, that's not bad for a governor who lives with his mother. So, my friends, as you all know, this will be my final term in Congress. And it's with a heavy heart, but I have to say, with only 2 weeks left until Election Day, we really have to step up and support Seth Magaziner to make sure we keep this seat blue. Are you ready to do that? I can tell you this, if Alan Funk wins this seat, he's going to be a rubber stamp for Kevin McCarthy and the right-wing extremists who want to cut Social Security, who would hurt working families, and strip constitutional rights away from women and the LGBT community. We cannot let that happen. So I don't know I don't know about everyone here, but I can say without question that I cannot bear the thought of Jim Jordan being the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee or Marjorie Taylor Greene having to say of what bills come to the floor. We cannot let that happen. Alan Fung wants to support an election denier and Kevin McCarthy to be Speaker of the House, and that should scare absolutely everybody. My friends, we cannot let that happen, and we're depending on all of you. It's been the honor and the privilege of a lifetime for me to serve the people of Rhode Island for the last 22 years, and I want to do everything in my power to make sure that this seat stays blue in November. Are you ready to do that? Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Biden, for being here today. Thank you all for everything that you're doing to elect Democrats up and down the ticket this November. It is my pleasure to be here with you and serve with you all these years. And it is now my pleasure to introduce my colleague from the 1st Congressional District, Congressman David Cicilline.
Good evening, everyone. Great to see you. Great to see everyone here. Look, it's been a great honor to welcome the First Lady to our state, and you're about to hear from her. But it's important to remember, elections are about choices. And at a moment when folks in Rhode Island and all across our country are feeling the pain of inflation, we need to look past personalities and see where candidates and their political parties and their leadership really stand. And I'm standing here today in Rhode Island with Seth Magaziner, the next congressman for the 2nd Congressional District. I'm here, Seth Magaziner is here. Alan Fung is in Boston with yet another member of the radical House Republican leadership, Steve Scalise. And before that, he was standing in Wyoming with the man he is politically indebted to, who he said he would vote for to be the next Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. So let's see where Alan Fung's new friends stand and where they've stood in the past on issues that are most important to Rhode Islanders. At a time when families and hardworking men and women are feeling pain at the pump and at the grocery store, when Alan Fung's new friends had control of the government, they promised to pass an infrastructure bill. But did they? No! Instead, they passed a tax cut for huge corporations and the wealthiest Americans, leaving hard-working Rhode Islanders behind. When Donald Trump incited a mob that stormed the Capitol on January 6th, Alan's friends stood on the side of the election deniers and cast their votes to overturn a free and fair election, the bedrock of our democracy. But when Democrats took back control of the House, we stood with Rhode Islanders and with hardworking Americans. We passed an infrastructure bill that will bring $2.5 billion to Rhode Island, fixing roads, bridges, ports, creating jobs, and improving productivity, which strengthens the supply chain and helps to drive down consumer costs. We expanded the child tax credit, cutting child poverty by nearly half in the country. We fought back against the big pharmaceutical companies and won a victory to reduce the cost of prescription drugs and cap insulin costs at $35 a month. We stood up against the big oil companies that generated record profits while you felt the pain of the pump. Where did Alan Fung's new friends stand? I tell you where they stood. No on the infrastructure bill, no on the expanded child tax credit, no on lowering prescription drug prices, and no on ending price gouging by the big oil companies. And these are the people that Alan Fung wants to control the Congress of the United States. They say you can tell a lot about a person by the company they keep. I'm proud to have a friend and a champion for Rhode Island like Seth Magaziner, and we need to fight like hell to get him elected to Congress. Because there's more work to do to help Rhode Islanders get through these tough times. But we know the record. We've seen where Alan Fung's friends, who he has pledged his support to, stand in the past. On the side of big corporations, on the side of big oil, on the side of big pharma, casting vote after vote against the interests of hardworking Rhode Islanders, families in our state, and seniors. We cannot let these friends of Fung take control of Congress. We cannot let that happen. So we're here tonight to say that we're all standing with Seth, because we have to understand when Seth Magaziner is elected to Congress, his first vote will be a vote that is important to set the agenda for the entire Congress. The Speaker of the House decides what bills come to the floor, what bills will never see the light of day. And we know that Seth will support leadership that stands with Rhode Island working families. A vote for Alan Fung cannot deliver for Rhode Island, not while he's standing with his new friends and not with Rhode Island. So thank you all for being here. I now have the tremendous pleasure of introducing our Lieutenant Governor, Serena Mazzoni.
I'm so honored to be here with all of you to welcome Dr. Biden to Rhode Island. And I want to say bienvenida de parte de todos nosotros aquí de Rhode Island. Welcome on behalf of all of the residents of Rhode Island. We're so honored that you're here, that you came here to support Governor McKee, to make sure that we elect Governor McKee on November 8th, and to make sure that we vote for all the Democrats. All the Democrats need to be elected in this November 8th. As we know, elections have consequences. We have seen it firsthand. Right now, more than ever, after what we thought that happened on January 6th, we have to make sure that we have an election that is going to send a clear message that Rhode Island and the United States is going to be blue. So thank you so much. Thank you to the First Lady for coming here to support Governor McKee and the Democratic ticket. It's truly an honor, and I'm so glad to be here with all of you. Let's get ready, Rhode Island.